Happy Friday, Friday. It's 9 o'clock here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. The last day of spring break for many of your families here in the Charlotte Metro and our surrounding counties. And well, folks are heading out of town or maybe back into town this weekend. So hopefully you had a good week. We are looking forward to the weekend regardless, and it should be a nice one. We have Majestic Storm in the Live Impact studio now, ready and waiting. And today is going to be one of those wonderful days. Might as well start it off like that.
Oh, it's so pretty. This morning I was asking Chris because Chris loves sandwiches. I'm like, I need a good sandwich
Who doesn't
spot.
love a sandwich?
I mean, I love them too, but he knows all the best spots in town. He's been all over the place.
Okay.
So he gave me like the best 5 recommendations because I want a cold sandwich on a nice, warm, sunny day where you can just sit outside.
Who should we shout out? Do you have the
We're
list?
going to Common Market in South End.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you guys been?
I have not.
I have not
Okay.
been, but I've heard good things about Common Market.
I'm excited.
All
Doesn't
right.
that sound good?
Yes.
Yes, I
Good
had.
thing. I'm a sandwich girl.
Yes,
Okay, give me a
yes,
sandwich.
Miss Carlene is good
Breakfast,
sandwich.
lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast
I'll have a
sandwich.
Do you
sandwich.
have a favorite spot?
I have actually there was a place in Noda, shout out, not sponsored, just a fan.
'Kay.
Ricci's. It's like
Ricci's?
they just opened in Noda.
Huh.
It's like a Philly
Yum.
sandwich
Say
place,
you
but
Philly
not
cheese-
but not cheesesteaks.
Oh,
But it's
okay.
But they do. I mean, Italian. They
Yeah.
do a Cubano kind of style
Ooh,
sub.
like my Cubanos.
It's fantastic.
That's good to
It is
know.
so good.
Okay.
We went on the opening. You could just see Philly people, like Eagles fans here, left and right. There's lines out the door
Oh,
and
so
everything. So, like, this
it's-
is a staple. People
It's
are pumped
legit.
that it's there. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yum.
Well, geez.
Well, any plans for you? Are you getting a
I
sandwich?
don't know, but now I feel like
But look,
I
I'll
need to
warn you
get
though,
a
if
sandwich.
If you want just like a light sandwich, this is not a like you got to go in hungry.
Oh,
and
okay.
It is a,
Or
it is a
split
hefty
it
sandwich.
with someone.
Or split
I
it,
love
or
splitting
split it.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah,
all you need
I'm
is
a
half.
splitter.
Me too.
Yeah, I split.
Yum. Carlin's
Your
like,
girl's going in. Me and Greg are both getting our own. No.
Yeah, don't touch mine. Okay. I'm a pub sub.
Oh, I love a pub sub.
Okay.
Oh, love a pub sub.
Well, what's a pub sub?
Public subs.
Publix
Oh,
subs?
you don't know. Yes, Publix supermarkets has their own like sub
Oh.
section in the
I
deli.
didn't know about
It's
this.
Oh,
fantastic.
yes.
Oh my!
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just add number 6 to that list of sandwich
yeah.
places. Yeah, every
Okay.
time
Yeah,
I'm
because
in.
Publix, I don't think they're in the Northwest.
No.
So that's why I don't know.
No.
Oh, no, not in the Northwest.
So Jane and I come from Publix. Well, Jane's from.
I'm
Hale's
from
the Publix,
Capital Publix,
land.
Florida.
I had Publix growing up in South Carolina, but yeah.
But yeah, they've come up through
Yep.
the Carolinas. So
Okay.
a good pub sub, especially when they're on sale.
Oh, the best.
Like, what is it? $6? Oh, yeah.
They do a sub of the week or something like that. Yeah, it's
Okay, well, I'll put that number 6.
All right. What
All right.
else? We got Common Market. We have your place in Noda.
cheese.
Recheese.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
All right. We'll get a recap from you on Monday.
Perfect.
See what your sandwich
I'll do a review.
game was like on this weekend. All right.
All right.
Anyway, as we were, where else? What are we doing? We're doing weather.
Weather time. We have a lot to talk about, but thankfully it's Friday. We're heading into a beautiful day. Temperatures today are going to be warmer than yesterday, and if you haven't tuned in the last couple of days, you need to know we have a big warm up on the way. So 68 degrees yesterday, 78 degrees today. I mean, we're talking about clear sunny skies for your Friday, and temperatures are feeling nice. I'm calling this a good looking Friday. Now, 80-degree temperatures, they return tomorrow. We have them on Sunday. They continue into next week. And so far in 2026, we've already had 15 days where we hit 80 degrees. So 15 days already of at least 80 degrees, and we have so many more on the way just within our 7-day forecast. So it is going to get a little toasty over the next few days. So if you like the warm weather, you are going to love this. If you like the 70s, today's perfect. It's just for you. You can see over the next few days, our average high, where should we actually be now? We should be at 72. Again, it's April 10th. That is our average high, 72. Today, temperatures will be into the upper 70s. By tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, mid 80s. If you have any plans this weekend, it is going to be warm, but it is going to be so beautiful. Mostly sunny skies. I think there will be a little cloud coverage here and there, but not bad whatsoever. Monday, more clouds filter in, but we're still holding on to those low 80s. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, look at this, 88 degrees on Tuesday, 90 degrees on Wednesday is what we're forecasting. That could be our first 90-degree day of 2026. So let's talk about our first 90-degree day here in Charlotte. The earliest 90-degree day that we've ever seen was on March 17th back in 1945. So a long time ago, but imagine that, March, the middle of March, and you have a 90-degree day. Our average day where we typically would see a 90-degree temp would be May 20th. So if we actually hit that next week, which we have a good chance of doing so, we would be well ahead schedule. We should wait until May 20th. That's the average. Again, next week, looking more and more likely. The last 90-degree day that we've had on record was July 8th. That would be kind of weird to go all the way until July to see a 90-degree day. So that's what we're preparing you for, a beautiful but warm weekend ahead. And then heading into next week, we're looking at possible record warmth. So for Tuesday, we have a high of 88 degrees. Our current record for that day is 89, set back in 1941. So there's a good chance we're going to break that because it's so close. And then on Wednesday, we're forecasting a high of 90. Our current record for that day is 89, set back in 1936. So 2 back-to-back days where records will either be met or possibly broken. So get ready for the warmth, especially if you work outside in the elements. Now's the time to start preparing, waking up in the morning, filling up your water bottle, making sure you're hydrated throughout the day, applying sunblock. It is that time of the year where you need to really protect your skin. And if you have any fur babies, if it's warm for us, it is warm for them as well. So start thinking about taking them for a walk earlier in the day or later in the evening, or if they are outdoor pets, make sure they have plenty of shade and lots of fresh, clean water. Live look this morning now, Monroe looking gorgeous today. We're calling for wall-to-wall sunshine. It is going to be a beautiful Friday. Temperatures, they're not too bad, still a bit on the cool side, low 50s here in the Queen City. We're waking up to mid to upper 40s in the mountains, so a little refreshing if you're somebody who likes to wake up, you like to put on your shoes and go for a walk and get that morning sunlight. I love doing that on my days off. It feels refreshing this morning, and then you know it's going to be a good day when temperatures just keep on warming up. I mean, by the time you're getting off work, mid to upper 70s, windows down, music cranked up as you're heading home. It's going to be beautiful. If you're going to the Hornets game tonight, look at that. Start time is at 7 o'clock. They're going to be playing the Pistons, and conditions are going to be gorgeous as you're heading to the game. But then even after the game, it's still going to feel pretty nice. 65 degrees, clear skies after the game is over. So hopefully they can win that game. Let's talk about the rain because we focused on the warmth. the record warmth, those 90-degree days that are coming. But now we need to talk about the rain, because unfortunately still no great luck for you. I've been talking all week long about how dry it is, how we're lacking rain still over the next 5 days, 0 rain. So far this year, we've had 5.89 inches of rain. This is the second driest year that we have since January 1st. So from January 1st through April 10th, that's how much rain we've received. This is not good. We need rain, and it's looking incredibly dry. And another fun fact that we were talking about this morning on WCNC is today is the 100th day of the year. So the first 100 days of 2026, and it's now officially the second driest ever. Drought Monitor was updated and released yesterday for both North and South Carolina. So all the little boxes that are highlighted in that red, the perimeter of it, outside of it, those are the areas where it has gotten worse. So let's focus on North Carolina, looking over to the left-hand side of your screen. 93.8% of the state now under a severe drought. 16.7% of North Carolina now under that extreme drought. So worsening conditions. It has got a lot worse since even last week, and with no rain coming over the next 7 days, you better believe next week's update is not going to be any better. If you're in South Carolina, 68.2% of the state is under that severe drought, and then 22.4% under that extreme. So really not great conditions. As a reminder, in North Carolina, we have a statewide burn ban in effect until further notice. We had an interview about that today, and they were saying they were going to keep that in place until we, of course, get rain. They're keeping a close eye on the forecast, and it's not looking likely. So remember, when you have a burn ban in place, no burning, even if you are somebody who does yard work and you like to start a fire and burn things, or if you're out camping, you can't have an open fire because of that burn ban in place. Just trying to avoid those embers from spreading, because everything is so dry that if you have a fire and when those little tiny embers spark something, that fire will spread rapidly and it will be really, really hard to control. And if you do that, you'll get a fine if you get caught, so don't do that. Artemis splashes down tonight. I want to show you this. So we've been following this 10-day adventure from the very beginning. It's been so interesting, so exciting, and just remarkable, all the stories that have come from that. That area shaded right there off the Pacific near San Diego is where it's going to splash down tonight, and conditions are looking great. So we're not seeing really much rain at all. Winds are going to stay calm and quiet. The wave heights will be low, and little visibility is not going to be a concern. So it seems like it's going to be perfect. Again, we will be streaming that tonight as it does splash down for a big, big night ahead. And then hurricane season, it doesn't officially start until June 1st, but Colorado State University did come out with their forecast for the year. So look at this. Named storms, they're forecasting 13. On average, we have 14, so that's just slightly below it. Hurricanes are forecasting 6 of them, and then 2 major hurricanes. You can see in 2025 what we had, and then kind of the average right there. So that'll be interesting. Not only did they come out with their forecast for the Atlantic hurricane season, but the names for the new season also came out. So that'll start with Arthur, and of course we are always covering everything for you, keeping you up to date with everything. And we'll be talking about hurricane season, of course, as we get closer and closer to June 1st. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast looks like this. I hope you have something fun planned for your weekend, and even if it's just sitting outside for a little bit, soaking up some of the fresh air and that sunshine on your skin always feels so nice, especially when it's not too warm. 78 degrees is perfect if you have any outdoor plans. Maybe you just want to have dinner outside with your family, or it's the last day of spring break. Maybe you want to take the kids to the park and pack a picnic. Sometimes it's just the little things that are so enjoyable and so fun, and it doesn't take that much. We're looking at mid-80s Saturday and Sunday. Monday, not too bad either. Daytime highs, yes, we know that they're warm, but even those overnight lows will be dropping down only into the 60s. So we're seeing above average highs and lows. No rain chances over the next 7 days. And then again, stay close to our weather team. We'll be really watching Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday specifically for record warmth with 90-degree days on the way.
Okay. All right. Very good. That's quite lovely. Are we happy with that, Carlene?
I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Why
Love
not?
it.
I'm excited for it too.
I'm excited for your sandwich pick.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, sandwich now on the mind.
I love seeing people just outside, just enjoying the weather. We live by that one park, Cordelia,
Yes.
or whatever. Is that Cordelia?
Yes.
And people just bring their blankets and just lay.
And they just
They'll
sit.
just lay and sit. I saw some guy on his laptop, probably doing a
Some
work from
guitar
home. and
players will be there.
Yeah.
you know.
Lovely.
It's that kind of neighborhood.
That vibe.
Noda, the artsy,
Yeah,
artsy, fun kind of
absolutely.
neighborhood. Yeah.
All right, good for you. And enjoy, at least bring your electronics outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Getting
Yeah.
or leave them at home and just close your eyes.
Better yet.
Close your eyes, soak up the sun,
people
call
watch.
it good.
This is my platform. Leave the electronics at home and start connecting like real people.
Yes.
Got to get out of this virtual world. Except if you're on Live Impact Studio.
Exactly.
We like
exactly.
to go for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
virtual
yeah. I mean,
now.
bring the.
But also go touch grass. Go outside. Go enjoy the sun. Yeah.
Yes, deep breath. All right, it's Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Majestic.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
We'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, time right now is 9:17 here on Live Impact News. And in the news on the national level, First Lady Melania Trump said that she has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. That is Alice Barr's story from Washington, filing this report for NBC News on WCNC Plus.
First Lady Melania Trump in a rare public statement knocking down rumors about her ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
The First Lady not saying why she's speaking out now. Behind the scenes, her legal team has worked for the past year to take on any publications they viewed as spreading false or defamatory information connecting her to Epstein.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump,
She strongly denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island.
Mrs. Trump saying she occasionally crossed paths with Epstein at parties and downplaying this 2002 email released in the Justice Department's Epstein files that she sent to Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, referencing a Positive magazine story.
My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence.
The First Lady urging Congress to hold a public hearing for survivors and saying that Epstein did not act alone.
And that means that the entire investigation is legitimate. She needs to call on her husband to get the remainder of the files released.
Republican Thomas Massey putting the onus back on the Justice Department to bring more transparency as the First Lady's comments put a simmering controversy back in the headlines. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We need to take another break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back with a live guest in studio talking about a really cool event coming up in Charlotte for the Arts and Science Council. That's up here in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 9:21 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, Charlotte's art scene is gearing up for a big night. It is also part of the Shout exhibition that's taking place in Uptown. It's the Arts and Science Council that's bringing back its Midnight Marathon. There's a 7-hour, one-night only performance fundraiser at the newly renovated Carolina Theater on April 17th. And if you haven't been to the newly renovated Carolina Theater, oh, it is a sight. It's beautiful, nice landmark. We saved it. It's great. Joining us in studio right now is Raina Campbell from the Arts and Science Council. Thanks for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having us, Jane.
All right, so for folks who missed the first Midnight Marathon or the two following, right? Because this is the fourth.
This is our second annual.
This is the second annual.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was an even number. So if people missed the first one, how would you describe the event?
I would describe Midnight Marathon really as a one-stop shop, showcase-style celebration of Charlotte Mecklenburg's performing arts scene. It really is a captivating experience more so than just a performance celebration. It really brings together music, improv, dance, comedy, and all of the things that make Charlotte Mecklenburg North Carolina's regional arts powerhouse.
Yeah, so local performance in one night. How does the group get all this together, curating this lineup?
Yeah, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our program officer for community engagement, Sasha Banks, who has been working tirelessly to curate an amazing lineup of performers. We're going to see local musicians like Walter Boston and Fall Lift, Charlotte-based rapper Mert Sun, groups like Rumbow Latin Dance, Theater Charlotte, Planet Improv, showcasing films from local filmmakers, and even some storytelling from local poets like Shane Maynor and Hannah Hassan.
Oh, wow. What is the theme this year, and what can audiences expect?
So the theme this year is an evening of magic and mystery at the Carolina Theater. We are embracing the magic and mystery of the historic and newly renovated Carolina Theater. The evening is going to be punctuated by tarot card reading and by aura photography, so folks can walk away with a stunning photo keepsake and maybe even some mystical direction from the cards.
Oh, wow. All right. So tell us about the partnership with Carolina Theater then. How did that come about, and what does it mean for this broader cultural scene that we're seeing?
Yeah, so Arts and Science Council is a supporting organization of the Foundation for the Carolinas who was pivotal in renovating the Carolina Theater, which is a cultural landmark and a gem of North Tryon and really of Mecklenburg County. And so we saw this as an opportunity to bring in local artists who might otherwise not have had the opportunity to perform on the stage of the Carolina, because at ASC we are passionate about creating new opportunities for artists and residents alike. So we're excited to get artists that haven't been to the Carolina on the stage, and we're excited to get community members who haven't been in this theater into the audience.
All right, so money from the event, where does it go to, or who does it benefit, and why does it matter right now for the Charlotte community?
Yeah, so proceeds from Midnight Marathon are going to go towards supporting the Arts and Science Council's mission of empowering creatives and strengthening communities, with a particular emphasis on creating new opportunities for artists and residents alike. And at ASC, we believe that access to transformative cultural experiences is fundamental for a thriving and engaged community. And we are committed to ensuring that there's everyday access to arts and cultural experiences all across the county. And Midnight Marathon is just one of the ways that we're showing up, and we're asking Charlotte Mecklenburg to help grow and strengthen our creative community.
All right, so 7 hours, one night. Do you have to go for the whole time?
You can if you want. If you'd like to join us, I'll be there all night. But we do have a couple of event options. If you go to artsandscience.org, you can see those ticket options. You can come from 4 to 8 p.m. You can come from 9 to midnight if you are a night owl, or you can buy a full event pass that allows you to come and go as you please throughout the evening.
And who should go?
Anybody should go. Anybody who is an arts and culture fan and wants to see some of their favorite local creatives on the stage of the Carolina. And I think also people who want to learn more about the arts and culture scene in Charlotte, and who want to learn what it is that makes Charlotte so special because of our cultural and creative ecosystems.
What does a successful night look to you?
I think a successful night to us looks like artists performing for an engaged audience who is excited to learn more about them, and for our audience to be wowed and stunned by the Carolina Theater and eager to learn more about the Arts and Science Council and Charlotte Mecklenburg's creative scene.
All right, the event is April 17th, and what else should people know?
I think the last thing that I'll say is if you visit the Arts and Science Council's website, artsandscience.org, you can subscribe to the Creative Current, our email newsletter, where you can learn more about the work that we're doing to strengthen Charlotte Mecklenburg's creative ecosystem by way of stewarding a vibrant public art program, investing in individual creatives, and sustaining the funding of existing nonprofits in the arts and culture scene. And in that Creative Current newsletter, we'll be running some promotional discounts next week for Midnight Marathon exclusive to that subscription base.
All right, Randa Campbell from Arts and Science Council, a great event there. April 17th, artsandsciences.org. Support our local arts scene, so important. And we do have a nice burgeoning art and culture scene anyway, so keep at it. Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much.
All right. And we'll be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:29. We're coming up on 9:30 here on Live Impact News on at WCNC Plus. And if you have been in the area, you know about the disappearance of Madalena Kojakari. Her birthday is tomorrow. It's been 4 years, just about 4 years, since she disappeared from her home up in Cornelius. And there is an ask of you. If you want to give her a birthday card, you can drop it off at the police department in Cornelius. Our Richard Devane covering this story for us this morning. He filed this report earlier on WCNC Plus.
Good Friday morning, folks watching us on the Plus. You know, Madalena Kojakari lived just less than a sixth of a mile from where I'm standing, a little bit more than a half a mile from where I'm standing right now here at the Cornelius Police Department. And as always, they continue to remember her and hope that someone out there knows something that will eventually lead to where she is. It's been 3 years after she was last seen. This disappearance of Cornelius teen Madalena Kojakari remains a heartbreaking mystery for all. This as she approaches what would be her 15th birthday. Last seen on November 22nd, she was getting off her school bus, but her disappearance wasn't reported by her parents for weeks, a delay that investigators say put them far behind. Her mother, Diana Kojakari, and stepfather, Christopher Palmenter, were both arrested for failing to report her missing. Court records show both later accepted plea deals, receiving suspended sentences and time served and probation. Diana has since returned to her home country of Moldova, but is still considered a suspect. As her birthday nears, the Cornelius Police Department has set up a collection box for birthday cards as the community continues to honor Madalena and push for answers. Police say the case is still active, and while there have been few developments as of late, they continue to follow every lead. They say they hope someone out there knows something that could bring her home.
Madalena is more than just missing. She's a girl that deserves to live her teenage life and have fun, doing all the things that teenagers should be doing.
There's a lot of people, locals, people far and wide, other countries. We use a lot of translation. People want to know. We want answers. We want to know where she is, and we won't stop until we do.
Yeah, and police say they will not stop as well. They say if anyone out there has any information, even the smallest little detail that they think can be helpful, please give police a call. We're here in Cornelius. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
We're going to go ahead and take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back. When we come back, we're going to get to a briefing that wrapped up last night. But if you missed it, it's on Artemis 2. They're getting ready to splash down back on Earth later tonight. Exciting times for the Artemis 2 mission. Back on the other side with that here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 9:35 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, bringing you breaking news right now out of North Charlotte, where Charlotte fire crews have put out a house fire in the 3000 block of Dale Crest Drive. It happened overnight, but fire says they were able to control it in 20 minutes. No one was hurt. Firefighters are all good, and the fire now under investigation by the Charlotte Fire Investigation Task Force. So these are just pictures just being sent to us from Charlotte FD. The update right now saying that, task force now saying that it was accidental and due to improper disposal of smoking materials on the rear deck. That unfortunately has displaced 4 adults, and now the Red Cross is stepping in to assist them with some housing. But we are also learning that the estimated property or content damage / loss is estimated to be $100,000. Unfortunate news there. But the fire is out in North Charlotte. That happened overnight on Dale Crest Drive. No one was hurt, but about $100,000 worth of damage. At 9:36, we are counting down to the splashdown of the Artemis II mission back here on Earth after making that loop around the moon, a historic mission for 4 American astronauts and a great feat for NASA and what it means for future U.S. space exploration. Last night's briefing, just get you caught up because we understand, I believe the crew is in sleeping mode as they get ready for their splashdown in the Pacific, right?
Here's a look at the capsule. That's actually what it looks like right now.
Oh, fabulous.
Like, the view from the capsule.
Oh, my goodness. Look
Right?
at that. It looks like...
It doesn't look real.
Exactly. It looks like it's just manifested from artificial intelligence or put together for an art exhibition. But a live picture out there in space as our 4 American astronauts get ready to splash down in the Pacific near San Diego. And you will be able to watch this starting at 7 o'clock here on WCNC Plus. We have exclusive coverage and reporting on what the folks at Mission Control are doing and saying and talking to the Artemis II crew, and it's bound to make for some good images. Anyway, as we continue to monitor things, we'll get you caught up with the briefing that happened last night to get you caught up on what NASA is probably better at explaining this mission. Let's go to that here now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center for our final mission status briefing ahead of Artemis II splashdown tomorrow evening. We are joined by a panel of specialists today. Joining us is NASA Associate Administrator Amit Kshatriya, Artemis II Flight Director Jeff Radigan, and Artemis II Orion Vehicle Manager Breniel Rodriguez. We are going to be taking questions from media here in the room and through our phone bridge today, but before we get started, we will kick it off with some opening remarks. Amit, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Tomorrow evening, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, the crew of Artemis II, will come home. They will have traveled 400,000 miles. They will have seen what no living person has seen. They will have tested every system on the spacecraft and the environment it was built for, and they will have given us 10 days of data that will shape every mission that comes after. The test is not complete. Tomorrow, the Orion spacecraft will enter the Earth's atmosphere at approximately 25,000 miles per hour. That heat shield, the thermal protection system, which is built by American hands and American factories for materials designed to withstand temperatures that approach the surface of the sun, will bear the full force of that reentry. Every system we've demonstrated over the past 9 days, life support, navigation, propulsion, communications, all of it depends on the final minutes of flight. We have high confidence in the system and the heat shield and the parachutes and the recovery systems we put together. The engineering supports it. The Artemis I flight data supports it. All of our ground test supports it. Our analysis supports it. And tomorrow the crew is going to put their lives behind that confidence. Until then, the flight control team, the engineering team, the recovery forces in the Pacific, to every engineer, every technician that's touched this machine, tomorrow belongs to you. The crew has done their part. Now we have to do ours. With that, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Amit. I will mention that the crew's had a great time in space, and they've really enjoyed doing all of the checkouts that they've done. Of course, the lunar flyby was quite a day. But now we absolutely turn towards entry. And so Rick Henfling and the entry team are on console today, getting ready, doing all of the pre-entry checks, and ensuring that the cockpit is configured for entry, which will, of course, occur tomorrow. I do have a few times for you as the capsule comes in. Of course, we'll hand back from the DSN network to the TDRS network at 6:15 local Central Time. And then the crew module and the service module is going to separate around 6:33. We would do a crew module raise burn to take the crew module slightly away from the service module as it comes down. And then we'll enter blackout at 6:53 local Central Time. About 10 minutes later, the drogue chutes will deploy at 7:03, and then the main chutes will be right behind them a minute later, 7:04, and we'll see those three main parachutes come out, leading down to splashdown at 7:07. And looking forward to a great day tomorrow. And with that, I'll hand it over to Branielle.
Thank you, Jeff. So the spacecraft team and the Orion team, we've been doing an assessment over the last few days with an integrated team from flight operations and all of our subject matter experts here within Orion. And we've reviewed all the systems, we've reviewed all the reentry procedures and activities, and we are good to go. And so the team's done an excellent job walking through those, ensuring that those systems on board Orion and on the ground are ready to support. Orion remains healthy. It's been working fantastic. And Debbie showed you some images yesterday of our TPS system, our thermal protection system, and we completed those assessments and everything looks really, really well to continue on. So we're ready to go inside the vehicle, the spacecraft systems. It's a nice 75 degrees, so kind of like a winter day in Houston, and it's crew's loving it. So everything is looking really well from the vehicle standpoint. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with questions here in the room. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Eric.
Eric Berger, Ars Technica. Thanks for doing this. Question for either Amit or Jeff, I think. Back a little more than a decade ago, the Curiosity mission had its 7 minutes of terror, and I'm not trying to imply anything, but I want to get a sense of the 13 minutes of entry from entry interface to splashdown, of how we should be thinking about it. That's the 13 minutes of what?
I mean, I'm going to tell you, it's 13 minutes of things that have to go right, is the way I think about it. I have a whole checklist in my head that we're going through of all the things that have to happen. The forward bay cover has to come off, the drogues have to come out, the main chutes have to deploy, the reefing systems have to cut, and we have to get touchdown angle alignment correct, and then hit the water correctly. And even prior to that, right, we've got the CMSM SEP separation between the service module and the crew module. That has to go right, and then you have the heat shield that has to work. So it's not so much 13 minutes, it's more in my head about an hour and a half of things that have to go right, and that's the way I think of them.
Okay, we'll take another question here in the room. Jackie, go ahead.
Hi there. Question, I think, for Jeff. I just wanted to check in. Yesterday, it seemed like the schedule moved around quite a bit as they were troubleshooting. I think it was an oxygen tank pressurization issue in the service module. Can you walk us through what that issue is, how long it's been a concern, and whether or not it's a big factor here that's outstanding? Thank you.
Sure. So it's actually not an oxygen tank issue. It's oxidizer. It's in the propulsion system, not in the breathable atmosphere system. And so it's one of our two-part propulsion system, which allows us to burn in space. We are seeing what is a small leak in our pressurant system. The leak is not to space. It's internal to the system, across some of our valves. And we really need to characterize that to see what, if any, modifications we might need to make in the future. And so we had some time on the timeline dedicated to some other activities, right? Having the crew pilot the vehicle again. And it made more sense for us to go ensure that we fully understood the characterization of the service module and the pressurization system, because we don't get the service module back, right? It's something that we jettison. So we all thought, right? Flight control team, working in conjunction with our mission management team, and of course our engineering teams, made the decision to go spend more time to characterize that situation because it was more important, and we'd already gotten the data out of the manual piloting demos that we'd previously had. So that's why we changed the timeline and ensured we could really characterize the vehicle.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Marcia. Go ahead.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for you, Ahmed. I know all the data and all the analyses points the way for a safe splashdown tomorrow, but still human emotion must be at play. How tense, stressed are you? So much is riding on this mission. All eyes will be, so focused on all this tomorrow around the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question that we'll all be anxious, and but we'll be with the families. We'll be with them. We'll all be together. I have full confidence in the team. They do too. That we've been with them the whole time, and so we've done the work. It's impossible to say you don't have irrational fears left, right? But I'd tell you I don't have any rational fears about what's going to happen. We've done the work we need to, and we have full confidence in the team, the recovery team, the flight control team, the analysis, and the work we did. Yeah, some of them. Yeah.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Irene.
Irene Plotz with Aviation Week, probably for Amit. At this point in the mission, how many in-flight anomalies have been are pending for action after splashdown? And compared to the list of objectives that you laid out for this whole mission, and realize you still have this very major part of it ahead, but how satisfied are you with that the mission objectives have been accomplished?
Well, Brittany, I'll talk about the details, but I'll tell you the team has extracted every ounce of test data we can out of it. I'm very pleased with the coordination, the way that we've added objectives in flight, and the way we prioritize, like Jeff said, on cases where we need actual forensic data on the hardware we're getting back versus not. So we prioritize that the right way. But Brittany, you want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the things that we've learned, right, it is a test flight, and so we are learning things on the spacecraft. I think we've talked several of them in these press conferences as we have, but we gather those data, as Jeff noted. We take characterization tests of systems that we won't get back home, and when we get back home and the vehicle comes back, we'll do a lot of post-processing of all that data.
Okay, we'll take one more question here in the room, then head to the phone bridge. Go ahead.
Hi, TG Mascaro with the Epoch Times. Thanks so much, and congratulations on the mission so far. Question for Jeff. Can you walk us through how this reentry procedure differs from that of Apollo?
Let's see. In terms of it actually doesn't differ all that much in terms of just how fast we're coming back, and how much has to go right. Of course, there are some minor timeline differences. The parachute systems are different between the two vehicles, but big picture, coming back from the moon is all really close to the same thing. You don't have the long coasting arcs that you have in low Earth orbit. You're really coming straight down and coming and hitting the atmosphere a whole lot faster, but that means you go through it a whole lot faster too. And so I'd say it parallels Apollo much more than it does some of our low Earth orbit returns, and that's really what we're looking forward to. They're coming home pretty fast.
We'll take our next question on the phone bridge from Ken Chang with the New York Times.
Hi, thank you. I guess I'm following up on the previous question. So with the lofted orbit, it comes up a bit, and Apollo had direct reentry, and Artemis 1 had the skip entry. So I guess it seems like it'd be somewhere in the middle. If you can just give a few more details. Thank you.
Yeah, Ken. So we are still doing a skip entry where we've shortened the duration of the skip because of the limited use disposition of this particular heat shield. We know that it can tolerate X amount of dwell time during the lofted period, which is why we're shortening the duration. To follow up a little bit on the previous question too, one of the reasons we were willing to do that is because we figured we could control the entry weather, or not control, but deal with entry weather in terms of the down track. And so the duration of the heat load, heat rate, as well as the actual down track is shorter, because that's the part of the environment that we decided to control with this particular instance of the heat shield. For future heat shields, we'll have much longer skip capability.
Our next question is from Noah Haggerty with the Los Angeles Times.
Hi, thanks. I'm wondering if there's any chance folks in San Diego along the coast will be able to see reentry, and and what the exclusion zones and enforcement will look like out in the ocean for anyone that hopes to travel via boat to watch reentry and splashdown.
Let's see. So the path that we're coming in, I don't expect it to be visible from the folks in California. And as far as the exclusion zone, we're pretty far off the coast. And of course, we're working in conjunction with the Department of War to recover the capsule out there, and it is a fairly large exclusion zone. So I would caution folks, please avoid the area. There's a lot of debris that comes down, and we work with our recovery forces in order to ensure that it doesn't hit them. But of course, we don't want it to hit anyone else. We are still targeting to come down at our primary landing site, and we have the weather alternates available. But it's further off the coast than, again, some of your the LEO deorbits that you've seen.
We'll take our next question from Nell with NPR.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this. I'm still trying to understand the oxygen pressurization issue. You mentioned something about it was with the propellant system. I'm wondering, does this have anything to do with anything that might be involved in reentry? I mean, I understand you're assessing it because you're going to lose that part of the spacecraft and it won't be returned, but is there anything related to that that's at all of concern related to reentry? Thank you.
I appreciate your question, and just to clarify again, right, this is actually in the helium pressurization system of the oxidizer, which, of course, our service module propulsion system works on fuel and oxidizer and combining those together to provide thrust. In terms of affecting reentry, it will not. We still have capability in the spacecraft and are operating in a case where all of our burns have performed nominally. They've done exactly what we've expected to. Of course, we performed return trajectory correction burn 1 a couple days ago, and it went just fine. We hit our targets. And we're actually seeing that our targets are very close to what we predicted, so our correction burns don't need to be as much as we had protected for, which is a good thing to note. We're doing another trajectory correction tonight, and then there'll be the final one tomorrow before entry. All of those are done actually without the pressurization system that we're characterizing. We're operating in a case where we're in blowdown, which means that we already have full pressure in the prop tanks to be able to perform these burns. Even if we had, a 3 sigma dispersion, we still have plenty of prop pressurization to do the burns. So we don't see any impact to entry at this time. And of course, we will, jettison the service module, and that's where the system is. And of course, the crew module jets that we'll use actually on reentry are unaffected at this time.
Yeah, and to add to that, Jeff, there's multiple layers and redundancy in our propulsion system, and so really the test yesterday was to help us characterize that information since we don't receive the service module back home. But we have reviewed that as a technical team. We have validated all of that in our labs, and we have very much confidence in the system.
We'll take another question on the phone and then head back into the room. Our next question is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Thanks. Amit, you spent a lot of time over the last 2 or 2.5 years working on the heat shield and the reentry plan that will be rolling out tomorrow. I'm curious if you ever went through this effort and the new trajectory, directly with the crew's families, and did you feel like that session, if it happened, was able to resolve any worries they might have had? Did anybody else outside of the crew themselves from NASA sort of talk through the mitigation for tomorrow? Thanks so much.
Yeah, we haven't gone into deep technical detail, at least I have not, with the families directly. I know that, I will tell you though, that from day one, since I started in the program and then was just right before they named this crew, we have been talking to the crew about this problem the whole time, and they've been with us on the investigation, they've been with us on the production improvements that were made, all the changes to entry procedures. So they were not just, doing what we were telling them to do. They co-created this solution with us. So they've been lashed up. I imagine, they've discussed with their loved ones what the risks are. They've talked about that through all phases of flight, through entry, through ascent, every single piece of it. So I know that they're well prepared. And I would tell you though that It's not said a lot, but the courage that the families show during these missions is as great as or equal to what the crew shows when they go fly, and so we all have to admire them for that.
We'll take our next question in the room. Go ahead.
Thanks. Joey Roulette with Reuters. Question for Amit or whoever wants to answer. I'm just curious to hear more about how the astronauts are feeling ahead of what's probably the riskiest part of the mission. Are they asking questions, technical questions, or anything else? And Jeff, I want to just hear a little bit more about the oxidizer issue. If you could describe the leak rate or what risk level this poses to the crew, if any, and how many valves are implicated in it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I'll let Jeff or Branielle kind of talk about the crew spirits. I know they've been on the radio and they're pretty chipper. So, but what you gonna tell them?
Well, I think when we talk about the managing the emotions on orbit and managing that through every day of flight, they're all a little bit different, right? And when you talk to the crew, some days we get to the conference at the end of the day, and we're talking technical items, we're talking technical things, we're talking about what happens tomorrow. And some days it's there's very little to talk about in terms of technical items, but it's hey, here's how we're feeling, here's how we're doing. They were very happy to get some time off after the lunar flyby. The lunar flyby was a long day. I'm sure you all heard them on the radios, constantly that day. It was a long, taxing day for them, and they were happy to get a little bit rest the following day. So every day of the mission, especially with a mission this short, and it's so packed full of all of the operations that we're doing, it's its own kind of thing to manage. And now as they get into entry, we're talking through, they've got conferences today with the entry flight control team, and we're ensuring that we're getting them ready in a good emotional state so that they can execute, right? They're very technically savvy. Just as Amit said, we've built this plan with them. There's nothing new that they're learning, but we're all reviewing together and make sure we're well positioned to fly entry tomorrow. And I'll take the technical topic and hand that over to Branielle.
Thanks, Jeff. Regarding the propulsion system, so there's multiple valves in each string of the propulsion system and multiple strings providing that redundancy. So we worked a test plan to safely characterize what we're seeing and validate the data that we're getting down. And the team's going to go off and look at that and determine, based on what they're seeing, the thermal effects associated with the attitudes that we're flying in, and be able to come back with us post-mission with an investigation update.
What are they seeing, though?
Let me just make this clear. So we're leaking helium into the pressure system, into the aux system. There's a series of solenoid valves that are protecting that. We actually accepted this risk pre-flight because we had a low leak rate of helium on the valve closest to the prop system. We accepted it because we didn't need the performance for the pressure system. As Jeff said, we can do a lot of the burns just with the ullage pressure in the tank, and for a free return trajectory, don't need it. We could have done the whole mission without at least after TLI, could have done the whole mission without helium pressurant. However, we are not getting the valves back. We know it. We have leaky valves to begin with, and we want to make sure we're characterizing that leak rate as well as we can. The leak rate.
Hi, everyone. It's 9:58 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You've been watching a status briefing, last night's last briefing before the Artemis II crew splashes down in the Pacific later tonight, which you can see with live coverage beginning here on WCNC Plus. We will continue that briefing that was previously recorded on the other side of the break just after 10 a.m. on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back. Just after 10 a.m. on a Friday morning, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're going to continue the coverage in last night's briefing for Artemis II as the crew prepares for that last bit of their mission. It is probably the most dangerous, but a re-entry back into the Earth's atmosphere, splashdown for tonight back in the Pacific Ocean off San Diego. And you can watch live coverage here tonight on WCNC Plus. We'll get back to the media question and answer Q&A from NASA in the command center in Houston, now on Live Impact News.
Helium pressurant. However, we are not getting the valves back. We know it. We have leaky valves to begin with, and we want to make sure we're characterizing that leak rate as well as we can. The leak rate we saw in flight is now an order of magnitude higher than what we saw on the ground. It's still acceptable, but that will lead us to probably an extensive redesign of that valve system. I don't need those valves to hold pressure in the same way for a LEO orbiting mission, but for a lunar orbit mission, I do. I need all the performance in the system so I can pressurize, which is why we prioritize that side of the valves.
Okay, we'll take our next question right here.
Hi, Josh Dinner, Space.com. I'd like to follow up on Joey's question a little bit about how the crew is feeling. Most astronaut missions to space these days are quite longer than 10 days. Do you get the impression that there is any sort of bittersweet feeling about how soon their mission is coming to a close, even though they are hyper-focused on their task ahead? Another question, can you clarify why San Francisco, the coast of San Francisco, was chosen over other landing locations like the Gulf or the Atlantic?
It's San Diego, so it's near Naval Base San Diego, which is we like them. They help us. So that's why. It's because proximity to where they do fleet operations, which too, we also climatologically, those waters are pretty calm. And so we do a lot of recovery operations there. In terms of how they're feeling, I mean, like you've heard them. They're it's interesting. I really want them to answer this question when they come back because the ranges of emotions are crazy for them. But, they are some of the most thoughtful, incredible people that I've ever known. And even some of the moments I think a lot of folks have thought about, just what you've seen them, the expressions of love and, devotion to family and what they've shown, to me is a great, example of why we go and do these missions, right? If you can't take love to the stars, then what are we doing? Like, why would we even go? And so that's why we send humans. That's instead of robots sometimes, that's why we have that firsthand witness. And so they're going to go through a whole range of just like we have watching them. And I think that's the whole point, is that we can share that experience.
Okay, we'll take our next question right here.
Thank you. Dr. Allison McGraw from Mysterious Meteorites here in Houston, Texas. In addition to the real-time data coming from the Orion spacecraft, will there be any ground systems used, say radar or really rapid telescopes? Thank you.
Let's see, in terms of gathering data from reentry, I'm trying to understand your question. Yeah, so we have a whole set of actually aircraft that we're going to use to gather data off the spacecraft as it comes down in. And then once it gets back, of course, we're recording data on board that we don't get down on the ground in real time. And we'll use all of that information that we record on board at a much higher rate than we can actually pass it down through our communication systems to be able to ensure we fully understand what occurred.
Okay, go ahead.
Mark Kirkman with NSF. I'd like to follow up a little bit more on the entry, just a smidge. This is probably for Jeff, but commentary eloquently put it that we're doing the correction burns to split the uprights. Can you define that flight path angle that we're aiming for and what the consequences are of not, what bounds out in the consequences of not being at the correct flight path angle at entry interface? And also, can somebody summarize the plan for assessing the TPS right away after splashdown, what the timeline looks like and how you'll plan to get that data?
Let's see. So in terms of the flight path angle, I mean, it's quite simple. You have to hit it, or the TPS, we don't expect it will be successful, quite frankly. We have to hit the flight path angle accurately. And what we're doing over the next day and a half is ensuring that all of our correction burns, which are very small and calculated to be very small right now, get us exactly on that angle, right? We've got about less than a degree of angle that we need to hit, And when we come in, we need to be right in the center of that. Obviously, we've got a little bit of wiggle room. We don't plan to use that. Our guidance is working very well right now. All of our trajectory calculations are showing that the vehicle is on almost the best path it could be, and that our correction burns are very small this evening and then tomorrow. But we have to, let's not beat around the bush. We have to hit that angle correctly. Otherwise, we're not going to have a successful reentry.
And then part of your second question, we actually have our thermal protection experts on the vehicle, on the ship that is with the team as part of the recovery. They have a plan in place to do extensive imagery of the TPS system, our heat shield, upon it getting back into the well deck of the ship. And then, of course, once it gets back on dock and at Naval Base San Diego, we'll do more imagery before it gets transported back to KSC, where we can continue on getting additional insight into it.
Okay, we'll take our next question right here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jackie Goddard for the Times of London. Could somebody please clarify the peak heating, peak temperature, the peak velocity, because the miles an hour are jarring a little with what Rick said yesterday in terms of the feet per second, and also what will the astronauts feel, see, and hear on the way down? Thank you.
Let's see. So in terms of the numbers, we'll have to get you that. I don't have those specifically off the top of my head, and I know Rick gave them to you in the units that we generally use, but we'll be sure to get those to you. In terms of what the astronauts are going to feel and hear, they're going to feel and hear when all the various chutes deploy, and when the forward bay cover comes off, all of the pyrotechnic events that are part of a nominal entry, descent, and landing sequence. They're going to hear them, they're going to feel them, and it's actually, I think, going to be a fun ride for them. They're looking forward to hearing and feeling them, by the way. We did our checkout of the crew module propulsion system a little earlier today, and when we actuated the valves to actually prime the system, of course, they're waiting inside the capsule, just waiting to hear that, knock of a little, it sounds a little bit like a wrench on the spacecraft, and that means that the valve actuated successfully, and that's what they're looking forward to. So, they're looking forward to what they're going to hear, and they'll be able to tell you all about it when they get home.
And we actually had on Artemis 1, we had a video during reentry where you could hear the acoustics inside the spacecraft, and I think that's been shared externally, and so it's been a helpful contributor to know what to experience for Artemis 2.
Okay, we'll take another here in the room and then head to our phone bridge. Go ahead.
Hi, Ed Lavendera with CNN. Thank you for the time today and good luck tomorrow. I'd love to know how much of the piloting will Victor Glover be doing? How much of the control of the capsule will you guys have in mission control? What's the balance there, just to kind of understand the logistics of how that plays out during reentry?
So during reentry, the vehicle's piloting itself. And we have closed loop control guidance on board that's going to be piloting the vehicle down to the ground. If there is it's actually multiple failures to get into a case where the crew is going to pilot the vehicle. Were we to have those multiple failures, which of course we don't anticipate, there is the opportunity for the crew to take control. I will tell you that when we've worked with them ahead of time, they're very concerned with cases where they would have to take control. This is not a system where you want to be manually piloting it yourself. You'd rather let the computer pilot the spacecraft, and that's what they're going to go do. But of course, they can take control if they absolutely had to, but we don't expect that to be the case.
Okay, we'll take our next question on the phone bridge from Megan with Scientific American.
Hi there, Megan Bartels from Scientific American. Thanks so much for taking this question. I think this is for Jeff. Thank you for the timeline updates at the top. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to ask about crew extraction. From what I understand, that's about an hour after splashdown, and I just wanted to understand why the delay, what will be happening during that hour-long procedure, and then if you could provide a little bit more detail on the rationale for the order of extraction, that would also be great. Thanks so much.
So, in the moments after the vehicle hits the water, there's a number of things that the crew has to do on board. There's a number of systems that we have to begin an orderly shutdown, and the crew then has to orient themselves and begin safing the spacecraft so they can open the hatch. And that takes a little bit of time. In parallel, of course, the recovery forces and Lily, our recovery director, are bringing the recovery forces closer to the capsule. They do have to stay out, a fair number of miles because there's debris that comes, of course, our drogues that are coming off the spacecraft, the forward bay cover, as I mentioned earlier. We don't want any of that to land on our recovery forces, so we do have a certain amount of time that will take to ensure that we don't put any of our recovery forces at risk. Once we confirm that there's no risk to the recovery forces, which takes a matter of minutes, then they're able to approach the spacecraft and begin the process of extracting the crew. That's not it's not a short process, but it takes about 30-45 minutes is what we've seen in calm seas. And of course, we are expecting good weather at this point, but it takes a little bit of time to get the recovery forces into the capsule and then help the crew to get out of the capsule and onto the front porch, which is the flotation part of the recovery forces that actually attaches to the spacecraft. So it just takes a little bit of time. We need to do this calmly and methodically, and that's the way it goes. So that's why it takes time. Like any operation, you have to spend the right amount of time to make sure we do it successfully. As far as order goes, that's really left up to the recovery forces. It'll depend on the crew, the specific crew, and how they're doing. And Lily and her team will manage that as it comes.
Okay, our next question is from Marcia Smith with SpacePolicyOnline.com.
Thanks so much for taking my question. And it's actually a follow-on to that. Could you talk about what debris is going to be coming off and falling into the ocean, and over what distance is it going to fall? And are you going to try and recover any of it other than the parachutes?
Yeah, I'll try and take a shot at that one. So when the crew module comes back in, the forward bay cover, which is the very top of the crew module, actually comes off. And that pulls out your first set of parachutes, and we have kind of 3 sets of parachutes that come out. And so as each one of those pull off, they get released. And so that is kind of what the debris that Jeff's talking about that falls into the zone that is kind of the keep out zone that the team has out in the water. We do try and recover best effort. Crew is priority, so crew will always be done first. But the teams out there and the assets out there do look and try and recover, for example, our parachutes if they're able to, but not critical. We have a slew of test data to support all the things that we have seen. So hope that got all the questions there.
All right, we'll take another on the phone and then head back into the room. Our next question is from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. I believe this is for Amit. I just want to clarify your response about the leaking valves. Just to be clear, you said that you ultimately will need to do an extensive redesign of the system for future lunar orbital missions. And do you have a sense of how long that might take? Is it too early to understand how that might impact the schedule for Artemis missions moving forward?
I think we're pretty convinced that we'll need to do the redesign. In terms of timing, I'm convinced this will not be the pacing item for a lunar mission, so we'll be able to fix it in the time we need to. Might take a little while, but we have to get it right, and also we want to make sure we do the right amount of tests. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to need to, at a minimum, tweak the design to prevent the leak rate that we have, if not fundamentally change the way the valve works. But we'll have to go do that properly.
Okay, we'll take our next question in the room. Will, go ahead.
Hi, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. Thank you all for taking the time one last time. Just to follow up on Lauren's question, the European service module for Artemis 4 is already at the Kennedy Space Center right now. Do you imagine that it would need to go back to Airbus in Germany for this work to be done, or can technicians come to the...
And you've been listening to the status briefing on the Artemis 2 mission that was previously recorded from last night, giving that last check before the 4 astronauts come back into Earth's atmosphere and will splash down in the Pacific later tonight, if all goes well. We will be watching that closely. And so can you. Our live coverage starts tonight here at 7 o'clock on WCNC Plus. They are expected to splash down at 8:07 our time here Eastern. We're going to take a break because when we come back, a special guest, a local hero or star football player is on his way up, and an opportunity to take part of his upcoming football camp here in the Queen City on the other side. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:17 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Get ready, y'all, because he went from the halls of Rocky River High School to the Big 12 at TCU. And now, as a 2026 NFL draft prospect, Javon McIver Jr. is home. This weekend, he's hosting his first ever 7-on-7 football camp right here at Rocky River, giving back to the Charlotte community that helped shape him. And speaking of who helped shape him, Mom's got to be in here as well. So we've got all of them. All two of them here in the Live Impact studio. Thank you, too, for joining us here this morning. Love to have you.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having us.
Javon, let's start with you. Take us back to you personally, what it's like to come back to Rocky River High School and host this camp.
It's super surreal, honestly. I just remember being one of those kids who just wanted a little bit more motivation and inspiration. And when Jair Alexander used to come back and get his jersey retired or come kick it with the guys, it was super big for us, and it was just, we just knew it was obtainable. So it means everything to me to just be able to come back.
Yeah. And what is it like for you, Mom? I mean, we can talk, Mom, you know, the whole from seeing him and birthing him and being so proud of him, and you're Charlotte born and raised. What is that like for you as Mom?
It's an honor. It means so much to me because, like you just said, every mother knows their children, and it's 7 of them, and he is actually the one who I knew that was just going to really be that person. He had to go to bed with a football under his arm, had to have a helmet on, and that was kind of his thing. So football is not new to him, but he has just gotten bigger and better, and it just makes me feel good that, you know, he's my son.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
He's from you.
McIver Strong.
All right, McIver Strong. Why now, Javon, your decision to do something like this in your career?
I feel like I just need to take advantage of the momentum that I have going from me and myself in my career. I feel like with the season that I just had, it was one of the most productive seasons that I had in the career that I put together for myself. It was just a great time to come home before I got busy with the NFL, before I got busy with a lot of other obligations. I just wanted to come back and talk to the community that raised me.
Yeah.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
has your experience been like from Charlotte going to Texas and then coming back?
Okay. Well, I started off at Lenoir-Rhyne. I walked on D2 at Lenoir-Rhyne.
Oh, wow.
Because I graduated in the COVID class, so I didn't have any offers. So I walked on in 2021, and I redshirted, and then I got on scholarship there, and I played a season there, did pretty good. Transferred to Austin Peay in Tennessee. I did really good there. We won the conference. I went all conference. Then I transferred to TCU. So I've been all over the place, but the difference from Charlotte and Texas, I would just say it's pride, and that had a lot to do with why I wanted to come home too. Like just being around all the guys from Texas, like they take so much pride in their high schools. They don't lose games up there. Like I'm on a team with a lot of people who have never lost a game in high school. Like it's just so crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. Like I know like Denton Ryan and stuff like that, or like I forgot what the other school's called, but it's, you know, it's some powerhouses in Texas. So it just made me want to just come home and take more pride in my school and, you know, turn up my little bros and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Friday Night Lights is it's Texas. It's all Texas. And having a husband that went to Texas, UT, University of Texas, I know a little bit about what that's like. So speaking of, you know, this point of your career and what you want to do now and the NFL draft, and that time is coming around as well, a lot of scouts are paying attention to you. How are you mentally approaching that part?
I would say I've just been doing my best to speak clearly and be really critical on myself and just go over the old film and have great talks with my agent and have people representing me the right way, watching my words and stuff like that, and just making sure that I'm making the best decisions possible for me and my family as I go forward.
Yeah, you got some good words. I mean, Mom, thank you. That is good for you. As a defensive back, do you think, you know, what's going to separate you from the others?
I would say, as a defensive back, we are trained to have big egos. So I would say, I
like this real talk.
My best trait would be to not get jealous. You know what I'm saying? I have a great ego, but I've been in everybody's shoes in the room. You know, I've been a walk-on and I've been the best corner on the team. I've been all conference and I've been not even on scholarship. So I've been in everybody's shoes. You know, I walked a lot of miles and I'm willing to do anything for my team. I had a really high special teams grade the last 2 years. Even in my senior year, I never was scared to play kickoff or punt return or anything. I never wanted to come off the field. So I would say just the selflessness and just not being jealous is one of my biggest and best traits.
Mom.
Good job.
Tish.
Thank you.
What's happening here? There's good stuff, right?
Oh my goodness. This young man has always been about family. He has always been a visionary, leader on the field, leader off the field. His coaches have nothing but great things to, say about him. And one of the things I take pride in is the fact that he understands financial literacy. He said, Mom, I don't want to just do a camp about football. I want to do a camp about education, how grades matter. I want to talk about financial literacy. I want them to understand how to do FAFSA, because he talked about walking in everybody's shoes. We have 7 children, his dad and I, so it was almost as if FAFSA was one of the things that we had to do in our household a lot. It was for them in college at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do that at his camp. The clinic is going to be skills and drills, and he could talk about that. But I'm really proud of everything that we did to raise him. He grabbed it. I often used to say in our household, more is actually taught and then more is caught. So really, in this scenario, more was caught than taught, because he was catching everything, not just balls.
Wow, that comes from you.
Thank you.
Right, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what do you want to say about Tish, your mom?
I would say she's my biggest supporter. She's the reason why I keep going a lot, and I know that her and my grandma's prayers and a lot of work and just a lot of the higher power in the universe is the reason that I'm in the position that I'm in today. She never gave up on me. When I was in high school, we had a serious conversation about what we was going to do about me not having no offers, because since I was 4 years old, I knew I was going to go to the NFL. So it was never really hard for me, or my confidence or my plan was never really shook when I didn't have any offers. It was just like, okay, bet, what's the next step? So when she told me I had the green light to go get the loan, it was no question for me. Like, if my mom behind me, I don't really need nobody else. So
Wow.
she everything to me.
It goes all into the attitude and the way you believe in your convictions,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
You just know that this is what you are bound for.
Yes, ma'am.
Knowing your destiny. That's such a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
Such a gift.
Such a gift. All right, let's talk about this camp of yours. Back to the matter at hand.
Yes, ma'am.
The kids, how do they get involved?
The kids, so we're going to do skills and drills today, so it's going to be a lot of skill development. I got a lot of Charlotte alumni, CMS alumni who have went on to play real high-level ball. They're real highly touted athletes, highly accomplished athletes. A lot of them have went all-conference, all-American, and are also 2026 NFL draft prospects: Corian Sharp, Elijah Cope, Jaden Dennis, Songa Yates, Taj L. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, because I'm
Right,
on the spot.
no,
but
the whole list,
everybody
that's
who helped
great.
with the
Shout
delusional
outs.
camp, they know that I love and appreciate them. But the kids will just come, and today will be a more so introduction and skills and drills. So we'll break off into, and it's also O lineman and D lineman friendly. We do have an offensive line and D lineman coach on hand if anybody needs to hear that. Because I know it's harder for the big boys to get involved in 7-on-7,
Sure.
so we definitely want to, include everybody. But we'll break. Yep, and the girls. It's definitely open to girls.
Oh, you
as
have
well.
girls?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We have multiple girls signed
good.
up. We just wanted to, as far as that, we just wanted to, as far as DEI, we just wanted to include everybody, because a lot of women and girls are just growing in the football aspect. And I know that CMS is starting a 7-on-7, so people can just come get more information about their little brothers' games, their future sons' games. A lot of people love football, so I just wanted to give that platform and just allow women and girls to come get education too. But when it comes to the camp, we'll be doing some skill development, and then today we'll have lunch, and then a little introduction and a little fair, and then tomorrow we'll break off and have a draft, have some one-on-ones, and then a 7-on-7 tournament, and we got a lot of gifts for the winners, so it's gonna be good.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
So if anyone wanted to participate this year, it's already kind of closed off, right?
We will still be taking some walk-ups,
Oh,
so
okay.
everybody still feel free to come in and just have a good time. And even if it's not football related, we will still have some vendors and some food trucks up there. And I just want it to be real family reunion style. I know we have a task at hand, but with me not coming home so often, I just wanted to go to my high school and just give the city what it needs. I feel like the successful people out of Charlotte, they come back, but not as often, you know. And I just feel like I just wanted to be the person to just bring it back together and just bring hope back. And I didn't have the Orthodox past, so it's better for me, I feel like, to show the kids, like, you don't have to be a 4-star, you don't have to be a 5-star. Like, this is possible right at my high school. This is possible right down the street where I live. Like, this is possible with having no office. This is possible as a walk-on, you know. So I just wanted to this is just a full circle moment for me. It came up on my phone yesterday, April 9th, 2021, the COVID season. I was playing on Rocky River Field, my last high school game ever against Garinger. And April 10th, 2026, I'm throwing a camp at my high school field, going to the NFL. So it's just full circle, and I'm very appreciative to be in this moment right now.
I got the goosies with that one. That's right. Last one here. Where do you see yourself? You mentioned, looking back. Where do you see yourself a year, 5 years from now?
From now, man, wherever God see me, man.
You're so delusional.
God willing, delusional, man. So I would say just continuing to impact the youth around me, continuing to spread the gospel, continue to just be a better man every day. I just pray that I become a better man every day. So wherever God takes me, that's where I'm going to be.
All right. Javon, Tish McIver, thank you. You lead by example, both of you. So appreciate your time and showing it how it's done. Coming back to the community where it all shapes everybody and showing how it can be done. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, friends, back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Wow, it was that was quite a fun conversation with Javon McIver Jr. coming back to Charlotte for his Rocky River football camp. We are going to, let me see, I think we have our interview ready. Christopher, are you ready? Can you hear me? Yep, cool. All right, we're just doing this in real time, and we can because this is Live Impact News, is how we do. So right now at 10:32 back here on Live Impact News, we talked football with Javon, and now we're going to keep on this sports frequency, but in the different aspect of it. It's the business of it, because North Carolina's sports betting market has been on a remarkable run since becoming legalized in the state. Numbers are suggesting that it is picking up steam. So there's Christopher Bone from Bet Carolina. Have you been tracking this market closely, Christopher?
.com is our company is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is our home state. We're all Tar Heel people, true and through. So yeah, we've been monitoring this market for a long time, and like you said, North Carolina was definitely a market when it launched in 2024 that we had high hopes for. It has not disappointed. That's an understatement.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see. So let's talk about some of the figures. How many millions of dollars wagered this month or in a single month?
Just over 726 million was wagered in March. It was the third largest handle, which is just total wagers placed. That's what a handle is in state history, behind November 2025 and October 2025. And what those two have in common is their NFL months. And those were the only $800 million handle months in North Carolina history in 25 months of reporting from the state.
Wow. So for someone who doesn't really follow the industry closely, that is pretty impressive. And then the revenue is up, revenue jumping up over 30%. Why is revenue growing faster?
So it's a unique case study. We have 3 Marches that we can build around with North Carolina sports betting. 2024 was the first month ever, 2025 and 2026. And what you see from those 3 years is 3 very different tales. The first year, the revenue, which is just what's left over after sports betting operators pay out winnings. The first year was about $66.5 million of gross gaming revenue. The next year, it tanked and ended up in $38.1 million. And this year, it's back to $75.9. Now, if you take the 25 months of data that we have from the state, the average revenue is about $61.3 million. So what that tells you is that that people were, the operators were winning more. That the hold was more where it normally is, which is just margins. And the hold this month was 10.45%. Now, over 25 months of data, it's been 10.43%. The difference is last year it was 5.57%. So that's half of what it was this year. What that tells us is last year, while we had Duke making the Final Four on the men's side, UNC lost in the first round. Obviously, High Point lost. You didn't have NC State in the tournament at all. What that tells us is that North Carolina bettors were putting a lot of money on probably Duke to win. There was a lot of futures bets probably placed on Duke to win, make the Final Four at least, win all their games, and and the bettors came out ahead of the operators. This year, not so much, with no teams in the Final Four for the first time since it launched in North Carolina. It certainly seems to be a direct delineator between those two.
Oh, yeah. I mean, basketball nation here, Duke Nation. Tar Heel Nation as well. And so where do you see this? Because we were so NC-centric this past March, I mean, is that an anomaly, or is that a sign of what's to come?
Well, I mean, March is always considered one of the prime sports betting months because of March Madness. March Madness is the most bet upon sporting event in the United States every year, because the Super Bowl is one day and the March Madness tournament is 3 weekends. And so what you have there is a prime opportunity for every state in the country that has sports betting. You see it across the board. March is generally one of the top months. It is definitely the top month that doesn't have NFL football in it. But what you'll see with North Carolina from here is a similar trend we've seen in every other state, including in North Carolina. It's going to dip off in April because March Madness ends, and betting volumes for Major League Baseball are just not what they are for college basketball's main tournament, and also for the NFL regular season. But then it'll slump in the summer, and then we'll get back to September, October, November, December, which is, again, the NFL regular season, college football regular season. the MLB playoffs, things like that, the WNBA playoffs, all those will drive betting volumes back up again. So it's almost a spike in a sports betting kind of desert marches, but because late spring months and summer months are pretty slow, but then you get back into fall and that's when it'll pick up again. So I would suspect that this year we'll see more records set North Carolina sports betting, but it will probably happen like last year in October and November, not so much in April or May.
Gotcha. Well, then more than $13.5 million, though, in tax revenue in 1 month. And obviously that's got to be good for the state budget. And I mean, how significant is that? What's the average of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at North Carolina's data through 25 months of reporting, you have roughly $275 million in tax revenue has been generated in 25 months. I don't have a calculator on me. That's about 11 million a month is what that averages out to off the top of my head. So what that tells you is that this month beat the baseline, which again, taxes just come straight from gross gaming revenue. So if the books win more, if the sports books have a higher hold rate, then you're going to have a higher tax total for your month of whatever the month is. So what that tells us is that this was a good month for sports books, but it was also a good month for the state's bottom line because they got a much better tax total this year than they did in 2025 when they got 6.8 million in taxes, and in 2024, the first month ever of sports betting online in the state was just under $12 million in taxes. So this is the highest tax total we've had in a March dating back to 2024, which just goes to show you that, no matter what it is, it's helping the state's bottom line, and that's what's important.
Growing. For anyone in Charlotte, then, Chris, who hasn't placed a bet but is maybe curious, what are we looking at from a consumer standpoint, what the market's going to look like?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, the Hornets have a chance to snap their postseason drought this year, and at least through the play-in round, it seems like. Although the East is so stacked up right now, that could very much change. But for right now, I mean, you're going to have playoff basketball in North Carolina for the first time in a long time. And what that means is that you have a chance there should be some increased betting interest in April and May. It'll probably juice the numbers a little bit from where we've seen in past years, just because you have that hometown betting interest in the NBA. And obviously the Hurricanes might make it back. Seems like they probably should make it back in the NHL playoffs. So you're going to have that as well. So you'll have two teams that are still playing in the playoffs, which obviously, even though we all know the Hurricanes are in Raleigh, not in Charlotte, but it still gives you a hometown betting interest, a home state betting interest that you usually don't see in months like April and May, especially since Charlotte is not a Major League Baseball market, at least not yet. So that what we should see, if you're a Charlotte sports betting person and you're trying to get in on it, at least you've got a local team now that you can throw some money behind in April and not watch it go into the wishing well. So at least you have that. And, Charles Lee doing a great job with the Hornets. They appear to be bound for at least the play-in round. So at least we have meaningful basketball in the Queen City for the first time in a very, very long time. So that's something I would say that sports bettors definitely can look forward to.
Yep, so true. All right, we will leave it with that. Christopher Bone, thank you so much from Bet Carolina. Great insight. Thanks for the discussion.
No worries. Thanks for having me on this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time. And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now, 1044 and Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's spend our last few minutes together and continue to follow Artemis because they are getting ready to splash down in the Pacific tonight, all according to plan. 8:07 Eastern. Our coverage here on Live Impact News begins at 7. So make sure you bring your mobile device or whatever your smart TV is on and keep it here on WCNC Plus. But we'll continue the briefing, the status briefing, where they were taking questions from media here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. This is from last night.
So we'll just have to go through that. Yeah, I don't know. But I imagine we have options.
Okay, we'll take our next question here. Go ahead.
This is Henry Gass from the Christian Science Monitor. Thank you for doing this. My question, I know you're all very focused on tomorrow, and it's a big day, and you're focused on wrapping up Artemis 2. I'm wondering if, Artemis 3 is not that far away as we stand now. Are there any preparations for that have begun, or can you tell us anything about that?
If you just go down the road here, there's a Mark 1 Blue Origin lander that just came out of Chamber A. That's getting shipped back to Florida. I know the folks in Boca Chica are getting the Block 3 Starship ready to roll. They've done cryoproofing. They're going to do static fires here shortly in April and hopefully get off relatively soon. Core Stage 3, the top 4 fits of Core Stage 3 are going to ship from Michoud on the 20th of April. The booster aft segments for Artemis 3 are already at Kennedy. As we talked earlier, the Orion, the Dash 3 Orion, the CM and the SM are still separated, but the new heat shield, which has been redesigned to tolerate those new conditions, is also assembled and ready to go. We just have to make those segments and go. And so we're in earnest, proceeding as quickly as we can. The mobile launcher, one, did not sustain, does not require the kind of refurb that we need. So we already moved the crawler transporter up to Pad B, and we're going to bring the ML back into the VAB hopefully by the end of next week and get on with it.
Okay, we'll take our next question in the room. Go ahead.
Hi, JJ Love with Tech Talk Media. Thanks so much for doing this. I want to ask, what is the single biggest thing that you would want the people of Earth taking away from this mission? And that's for anyone.
Wow, that's a tall order. Single biggest thing. There's so much, right? There's so much that we've done on this mission and so many things to share. I look at, all of the crew's reaction on flyby day, all of the snippets that they shared with us, the imagery, the videos, and it just makes you want to continue to go back, right? I think that they said it best. This isn't the trip, it's the first of many trips. And we just need to continue on because there's so much there. Think about how much we thought we knew what was going on and we thought we knew what the moon looked like, and now we see it a totally different way. I think we're going to see that on the next mission to the moon as well, and we just need to keep going.
Okay, we'll take 2 more here in the room and then head back to our phone bridge. Go ahead.
Hi. Question about the astronauts' schedule for the next few hours or next day or so. Just wondering, are they going to have the ability to talk to their family? Do they have a last meal aboard Orion they plan to eat? What are their activities before they actually get set up for that splashdown?
So I'll tell you right now, they're really focused on ensuring that the cabin is completely configured for entry. There's a number of things that they have to do. They have to pack all of the equipment that they brought out for operating the spacecraft, and get their suits out. They have to get the seats out, and it just takes a fair amount of time to reconfigure the cabin. Of course, they are sending messages to their families, and there's always a last meal anywhere you're at, but it's more of it's time to eat and be ready to go. It's not necessarily a symbolic thing, but it's something that they'll do together. And, I don't want to give you any impression other than they're focused on ensuring that they have a successful reentry. And I'm sure they'll take a special moment to themselves, but, our focus with them is a successful splashdown tomorrow.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Michael Adkison, Houston Public Media. Question for Jeff. You talked about the checklist that you're going to have. I'm wondering if you could characterize what it's going to feel like in mission control tomorrow, specifically in that 6-minute blackout period.
Yeah, I think, again, we're going to be thinking through all of the things that we know is happening on board, but that we can't see, right? And so, in order to keep myself calm, because I think, as Amit mentioned earlier, there's all of that irrational fear that, is human nature in some ways. I'll be going through what I know is going on board and saying, okay, it's this time, this switch is actuating, it's this time, I know these valves are firing. It's this time. I know that we're this many minutes away from the parachutes and the clock's ticking down, and I'm sure that's what I'll be doing to keep myself calm. Rick Henfling's the flight director in charge, and I need to make sure that I stay out of his way. We all have to make sure that we stay out of his way and let him and his team work, and we'll just be thinking through the things that will keep ourselves calm as we wait for reacquisition of signal.
Okay, we'll take our next question on the phone bridge from Christopher Mick with the Hudson Star Observer.
Thank you so much. Sincere thank you to you all for the information and to all the PAOs on the live stream. It's been very informative every day, so appreciate it. I believe this might be for Amit. I know we're nearing the end of these daily briefings, and I wanted to know if we could just look ahead to what the astronauts schedule. I know historically there's extensive post-flight mission debriefs and medical evaluations and media requests for interviews after that. I was wondering, since we're not going to be getting these daily updates, if you might just paint us a picture of what the month after landing will look like for the crew and their kind of rough daily activities.
I think maybe Courtney might be the most qualified to answer that one, so.
Yes, so they will go through some medical checks, some debriefs, and we do plan to talk to the crew in a crew news conference where you will all be invited within the first 2 weeks after splashdown, and then they will hopefully begin all of their appearances and tours starting at about the R+30 mark. So we look forward to seeing them back here on Earth and getting that schedule underway. Our next question is from David Denault with About Space Today News.
My question, a little bit later today, I understand the astronauts are going to be trying on the orthostatic intolerance garment. Now, I kind of understand what that does, but is this something new created for Artemis? And would you embellish a little bit more beyond just it's going to adjust the body?
Let's see. So I think you're talking about the orthostatic garment that we actually tried out yesterday, and we had the crew put them on to test out and ensure we had a good fit. This is really the first layer of their suit that they put on here, and we'll put on tomorrow for reentry. And so the goal there is to make sure that we have a good suit fit, that we're getting all the pressure on the human body in the right ways to be able to come in and have a successful landing.
Okay, our next question is from Manuel with Exploración Especial.
Thank you so much. Manuel Masanti with Exploración Espacial. I was wondering, how far into the entry phase are we going to continue enjoying the live views from the service model? Are we going to be able to see the separation between the capsule and the service model tomorrow? Thank you.
I didn't hear most of that.
I didn't. Was your question? Are we going to be able to see the separation between the service module and the crew module?
Correct. Yes. If you're going to enjoy that live.
So we are going to set up our cameras to try and see some of that on board, and of course we'll see that in the data coming down from the vehicle that has occurred. I don't expect that we'll be able to see that visually at the time it occurs.
Okay, we'll take some more questions here in the room. Let's go right over here.
Robert Coppinger from the British Interplanetary Society's Spaceflight magazine. The crew module for Artemis 2, will it be refurbished and reused for a future Artemis mission?
It's possible. There's some components. We might use the pressure vessel will probably be compromised, but Brunel, I don't know what the current reuse.
Yeah, so we'll be bringing the vehicle back. There are a significant number of components within the module that we'll be pulling out to reutilize it, and then if from going forward from there, we'll see what we need to do.
Okay, we'll take our next question here. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks for doing this. Tom Clark from Sky News in the UK. We now understand the crew are not going to exceed the Apollo 10 re-entry speed record. Is that actually an advantage to you? Was that something you've tried to build in to reduce their speed of re-entry, given we expected it to be pretty fast? Is the fact they're going to re-enter the atmosphere at 1,000 miles an hour slower useful to you?
I mean, we did because of the way we characterized the heat shield problem, the interaction between the material and the aerothermal loads in the environment, it is actually advantageous for the heat shield to ablate more quickly. You avoid the regions where you have essentially pyrolysis going on in the heat shield, the burning without oxygen, but then the creation of those pyrolysis gases when you don't have a receding front for ablation. Like if you're in that config, that's the condition we're trying to avoid. And so by sharpening the entry, you actually keep that ablation front moving while that gas production is happening. There will be a little bit of dwell period, but there are other things you trade. I mean, you might argue they want to just go as fast as possible, while there's other parts of the vehicle you care about, maintaining different envelope constraints. And so it was very specific in the way we dialed in the entry heat load and heat rate.
Okay, Irene, go ahead.
Sorry if I missed this, but how many miles off the coast of San Diego is the targeted splashdown site?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's I believe it's a couple hundred miles, but we'll have to get
too many for anyone to want to go and hang out.
That's the key.
Okay, it looks like we have another question right over here.
Hi, Dan Lenan from the Naval Postgraduate School. I have a couple status questions. In terms of the LRO images of the Artemis spacecraft when it was going by the moon, do you have any updates on whether those were successful? Also, what actually happens to the service module? Is it going to be part of the debris? I wasn't sure if that was going to be also burning up or coming down. And then how about the weather? What's the latest on the weather?
So let's go in reverse order. The weather's looking good, and we expect not to have an impact to recovery operations. There is some weather moving in after we land and have the recovery of the crew complete, and so of course Lily, our recovery director, and with the captain of the ship, will be figuring out exactly when to get the crew off the ship and back to the naval base. They'll have to take a look at what that timing is, and of course we expect them back here sometime on Saturday.
Okay, anyone?
So the service module, it'll actually re-enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up, so it is part of the debris, and we keep that as part of the keep-out zone. Can't remember the first question.
I haven't seen any of the reports from LRO yet, so we'll have to investigate.
Anyone in the room here still have a question? Okay, Jackie, we'll go ahead and go back to you.
Thanks. Yeah, one quick follow-up for you on the oxidization, pressurization. Were there any signs of this also in Artemis 1? Can you remind us, and what went into that decision to kind of just assume this risk heading into flight? Thanks.
Artemis 1, we didn't. We knew we had PCA leakage in the helium side. Again, given the Artemis 1 mode, we decided
all right, you've been watching the press conference, the briefing, the last one before the Artemis 2 mission, and the 4 astronauts re-enter Earth's space and to splash down in the Pacific later tonight at 8:07 expected splashdown time. We will start our coverage here on WCNC Plus, live coverage on the Plus at 7. Join in. Have a great morning. Charlotte Today is up next.